Good morning. This is Vincent Lanci, and this is the AM Gold Fix. If you are a non-subscriber and you missed out on what we said yesterday, as well as uh, the folksy iPhone gyrations, we apologize. Uh, that was a technological thing. We have to reschedule those from time to time. Zoom has a process, and it did face subscribers, but we were not intentionally locking out non-subscribers. This is what you missed yesterday if you were a non-subscriber. I'm going to say it again. Any non-subscriber, I mean non-paying opportunistic trader subscriber who gets 5 people to sign up for the free newsletter, okay? You're not costing your friends anything. The free newsletter. I will personally pay for your first month subscription on Opportunistic Trader free. Why am I doing this? I'm not a huckster. We offer transparency for subscribers, and it's really hard to market transparency if nobody knows about it and no one else is doing it. So I want to spread the word, and I'm going to put my own money on the line. That basically is this. Again, finally, before we get to the actual report today, which is a little bit lighthearted and will be also cut and dry. Again, any non-subscriber, you know who you are, and that's fine. We will continue to face the public with this report verbally for as long as I am able to convince the CEO, Larry Bennett, to do that for me. As long as you're a non-subscriber, if you get 5 people to join the newsletter, sign up for the free newsletter, I will pay for your first month with no obligation thereafter as a subscriber on the Opportunistic Trader free. That's a personal Hanukkah, Christmas, Thanksgiving gift from me to you, and appreciation for your listening. So be my salesman, and I'll be your supporter. All I want is listeners, and I want people to get the newsletter because we offer a lot here, even if you don't subscribe. There it is. So here we go. Let's start from the top. Actually, I want to start from the markets. I'll chat a little about the markets. Okay, what's going on in the markets? All right. The dollar is lower, not as much as yesterday. Gold is higher, a little bit higher. All right. Silver is higher. Note that yesterday's activity, silver actually outperformed on a percentage basis gold. That is a wonderful thing. Silver is now rallying because stocks and industrial commodities rallied, and because gold rallied. It was up like 3.5% yesterday. I won't bore you with the chart. Everybody who is listening has access to their own charts, so I will bore you with words. So palladium, so going through again today, palladium is up again, platinum is up, copper is up. Do you even have to look at the Chinese yuan or the Chinese stock market? The yuan is lower. That means it's stronger against the dollar. And without even looking, I haven't looked yet. I promise you, the Chinese stock market is up. And if I'm wrong, well, I'm wrong. It happens once in a while. All right. So looking at the currencies, the currency part of the FX drivers, before we get to the equities. Okay. The offshore yuan is 686, down 1%. It is basically in line with the onshore yuan, which had another massive weakening. And we're going to focus in the post that I put up on the yuan dollar pair versus the DX in general, because today is a little different than yesterday. And it shows that gold is taking its cue from the DX today as opposed to the yuan. So when I talk macro, right, I'll be me talking macro. The gold is focused on the yuan dollar pair mostly. Right? But on a micro basis, if you're active trading, if you're someone like Larry, who trades intraday, he sees indicators that matter on a minute by minute or hourly basis. I'm going into today on my micro basis saying the dollar, the DX, is showing more relevance to gold than the yuan today. So the broader dollar is. That makes me bullish because I think the yuan will assert itself later on. Talk about it later. The euro is stronger, back above 114.40. Um, uh, as our founder would say, everything is all right. I will tell you why everything is all right. How's that? I will tell you exactly why everything is all right. Um, Gold is, well, that's a GLD from yesterday. I don't really care about that. Who trades a GLD except people who aren't trading gold? That's a tracking stock, and the market trades overnight. All right. Why don't we get to what's going on? All right. Headline: GOP damage control helps. Yesterday, if you were able to listen, and possibly the day before, you've heard me say that uh, it's important to watch what politicians say now, because they are the last floor traders out there. And by that I mean, when you're on the floor, you one of the advantages you did have, if you were good at it, was you were a poker player. You could read a person's face, you could read what they were saying, you could read between the lines. Well, it's hard to do that when you're watching a tape, and when you use various technologies to compensate for that. And I have been fortunate enough to leave the floor early, and I got my schooling very early. But when you listen to politicians speak, forget the politics. Read between the lines, have some empathy, see their agenda, know what your counterparty's axe to grind is. And the GOP's counterparty axe to grind is this: we want to cut our losses, do damage control, and possibly turn this blue wave into a red wave going into the election. My proof: Trump's tweets. He's no longer screaming in caps. He's writing lucid sentences that are obviously pandering to the base. He's taking credit for economic strength. He's laying blame for economic weakness. I mean, it's just like he should just say in lower caps, GOP good, DNC bad. It's not written by him. All right. He can call me if he doesn't believe me. It's not written by him. It's written by someone else. Now, that's number one. Number two, Mnuchin was the good cop. Kudlow was the bad cop. 2 days ago, maybe yesterday, Kudlow turned good cop, saying we might have a deal. Why would I expect a Mnuchin to turn bad cop? Wrong. The correlation was wrong. Think like a trader. They're both good cops now, and Trump is good cop, because not because they give a crap about China, not because they want to win, not because they're capitulating to China, because the elections are coming up. So after the elections, I would expect it to go back to Kudlow being a bad cop, Trump being a bad cop and a good cop, depending on how he is on that bipolar moment, and see us resume the trade wars. But going into the election, we're going to back off on the trade wars. We're going to make exceptions on the Iranian oil. We're going to do everything we can to give the impression that we're nice guys. We're going to do everything we can to bolster and keep an already bouncing off the low stock market going. And that also means the dollar lower. Take a note of what's happened the last 3 days. The dollar lower, stocks higher, gold higher. That's the future when the stock market does finally crap out to 21, 2200. I think that's coming next year. But the last 2 days are a microcosm of possibly an event that's going to happen anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half down the road. All right. So politicians are transparent if you watch closely. Now, I'm reading words written by an analyst, Mark Chandler, who I love very much in a platonic way. U.S. trade overtures on both exemptions for the oil embargo and toward China is spurring a collective sigh of relief by investors. Period. Subtext: GOP backing off its hard stance because it wants to get reelected. Follow? All right. The brutal equity slide in October was already easing before Trump's comments yesterday. Yes, provided, but that's because people were front running what he was going to say. Let's be honest. Providing some optimism on trade and the quote instructions to the cabinet of today's reports. Political cynicism is making some observers concerned that this is part of Trump's last effort to impact next week's midterm elections. I promise you, I did not read that sentence before making all those statements I had. I had my thesis, in fact. But this makes me feel even better because I respect Mark. A week ago, Kudlow, Trump's economic advisor, bemoaned the fact that China had refused to engage in U.S. negotiations, blah, blah, blah. And On the other hand, others, so that was a week ago. Yesterday, he was like, yeah, we could have a thing. All right. Okay. So that's it. I believe that the elections will drive today's move as we go into I think the elections are November 6th. So I believe that you have a reassertion of that. And we'll get into the currency aspect of it, the yuan, the dollar in general. It all makes sense. All right. Jobs today. You can read that on your own. Sorry, things are so small, but we're working with a new blog, and I didn't resize my pictures. Therefore, just stretch your screen. You know what to do. All right. Hat tip to Mark Chandler. As I said before, follow him online. First, follow us online at optrader.optrader1. Then follow me at Lanci Pictures. And then follow, I think it's Mark to Markets. Just look for Mark Chandler. Great for FX. All right. Let's go through the charts. There are very few words in these charts because you know what? You got to listen if you don't want to know what they're talking about. We're getting an imminent signal. I'm going to help you out here. We're going to go sideways so you don't have to squint so much. All right. We have an imminent signal, but it is not a signal. I hate trading the first hour, but we have a setup. I'm going to say this. The signal is not there yet, but the tightening is there. The volatility implied versus historical is there. The volatility historical 5-day versus 20 days there. It's all there, which tells me we're going to have something happen in the first hour. I'll get a signal. I'll trade on it, and I'll get stopped out, which is why I won't trade the first hour. If I do trade the first hour, I'm saying that to you. But if you're on the chat, I may trade the first hour. I may trade it lighter. I may trade it with looser stops. I may trade it with the intention of reversing aggressively. But the reality of it is this. The system I have is very good. It is a brown box, though, not a black box. So if you look at this and you're just using your brain and your eyes, you see that above the Bollinger Bands, you want to get long, and below the Bollinger Bands, you want to get short. Is not necessarily true. On this chart, which is about 15 minutes old, we are above the top land of the Bollinger Bands, but we're not widening in opposite directions. If you don't know the system, tune in. If you do know the system, enough said. Signal imminent, but not necessarily going to happen. Number two, the 240, the 4-hour chart gave us that signal that sold off from the 29th through 2 days ago. It was clean. It went over without a hitch, and you were remiss if you didn't listen. There is no signal on the 240-minute chart, despite the widening. It's widening from unsafe ranges. But look at that trend line I left in there. That trend line over every time frame matters. I drew it a month ago, and it still matters, at least as a regression to the mean type of level, like a moving average almost. So that tells me we should touch that trend line. I'd say it's a 60-40 chance we touch that trend line. So that puts 1245, 1250 in the sights over the next 2 days. If you hear a dog in the background, that's because it is dog day. We have come a long way. Nice, pithy headline. Point being is we are now up. Do not be so excited. Do not be so depressed if we end the week down. This is the 5th week in a row we are up. Yes, we are not up to where we were, but in 5 weeks, we have undone what we did the 5 weeks lower prior. Be happy if you're bullish and be ready to sell if you're bearish. This tells me on a low level conviction, because this is a continuation of a negated signal that we had on oh, I'm sorry. This is a weekly. Sorry, back up. We have come a long way in weeks. We had a weekly signal go off in May that has been negated. We have come a long way in the last 5 weeks. My other comments are appropriate. That top Bollinger Band, we should have an orderly rally over the next week to 1250, 1260. Orderly means we can rally $10 in 5 minutes and do nothing for 10 days. You know how gold works. So that's another what's what I'm looking for? Another factor leaning me towards a continuation of this rally. I'm not a raging bull. I'm just trying to be a little bit more enthusiastic today. Monthly says higher. I've said that before. I'm saying it again. Monthly says higher. but it's a monthly signal. Do you really want to stomach something that you have to wait 30 days before you get out on? But I want to bring it a little bit closer. There are two trend lines. They have been there for months. One at the very bottom is one that everyone has on their monthly wedge. You see it up here. Sorry, that's my ability to edit. I can change this post to make myself right later. But you see that trend line at the bottom, the dotted yellow line. Try and make this a little bigger. Okay, everyone has something like that, but not everyone has what I have because I am special, and that's in a good way. That solid yellow line is a trend line that I've had, and why I put it there. You connect lows to lows on the wick. The lesson is over. Or you connect lows to lows on the body. You don't connect lows on the wick to lows on the body. I have 3 wicks touching. That means it's valid. I'm going with it, and doesn't look like it respects it much, but I'm going to go with it if we go above that. That implies that 1245 level that we had before, if we settle above it on a monthly basis, who can wait that long? We're going to go higher up to 1330. I kid you not, but that's 30 to 60 days from now. All right. Let's go to the dollar. And I want to bring this up so that you can see both charts at the same time. So squint a little bit. The dollar the last 2 days. Remember, yesterday, gold screamed higher and the DX screamed lower. But I saw the yuan as the leading indicator because that started moving during Asian hours, as did gold. And yesterday, the yuan was fixed a lot lower. Now look at today. Today, the yuan is the same amount, if not more, lower, meaning stronger against the dollar. But the DX itself is not as precipitously lower. And as of right now, and we'll check on the prices before we get off the phone here, the call here, but gold is taking a cue from the DX. I, as a person who loves the yuan pairing, would say gold will rally more, even if the DX does nothing, because the yuan says it should. I am not married to that, but I would not be surprised if gold rallied. I have given you no levels yet. All right, oil. This is for Shy Girl and Bryn Kelly throwing something at you. Gold and oil denominated in dollars, inflation, blah, 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 weak dollar, bullish for oil. Well, then why isn't oil higher if the dollar is weaker? Well, I would ask you kindly, why has oil been higher when the dollar had been higher? Well, that's because oil doesn't key on the dollar. What time we got? 8:20? Okay. We're going to be done in less than 5 minutes. Oil is a risk-on tool. And what's bad for oil is good for gold some of the time. I would expect oil to rally if the dollar weakness continues. But I also expect oil to be hampered in rallying because fund managers are pulling in the reins on their ancillary trades and investments to shore up their gains in stocks. Technicals, courtesy Michael Moore. I am writing this from the lower call. He writes this stuff at 5:30 a.m. Read it if you like. I like what he writes. I don't trade on what he writes. I trade on what I do. And I always like it when I see one of his numbers coinciding with one of mine. Misery loves company if you're wrong in trading gold, right? I think the next time above, this is not a high conviction. The next time above 1243, 1245 will give us that run to 1250, 1260, 1265. I will act on that feeling if I get an hourly or 4-hourly signal that tells me to get long on a volatility momentum basis. I won't know until after the first hour comes. I will not carry a position into Friday for election purposes, and who knows what's going to happen. And that's basically it. Now, for those of you who are looking for QE4, if you would view QE4 as dessert, I have another meme on that somewhere. QE4 is a dessert. Do not be surprised, as this dog is, at the gift you are being given the last 2 days. Gold is probably a sale after the election, short term. Stocks, I think, are a sale long term after the election. But take the gift, eat it, and run. Don't be so surprised like Rover is here. Sorry, no cats today, but it is a Friday. I thought I'd lighten it up. Have a great day, everyone. See you in the chat room. New subscriber, shout out to new subscribers.